Hello everyone, welcome back to Rolling Solo. My name is Adam Smith, and today we're beginning our playthrough of Hoplomachus Origins, the solo trials. We are in the very first solo trial. There is 20 of them. I'm hoping that we'll be able to make it all the way to the end, and I'm going to have to ask you guys for all the help that I can get to push us all the way to solo trials 20. We'll do our best, and we're going to start it off right now. So here we go. We've got this set up from our prior set of videos. You've also seen the rules overview that went over a majority of the rules. There was one thing that I didn't mention in the rules overview that's also very important, and that is the back side of the solo trials rules. It has a whole section on the breakdown of how a unit and champion will move and attack when it's activated based on which location it sits in, whether it's a Xanadu or an El Dorado or Atlantis. So it's based on, not location, sorry, but on its type of unit. But that's really important because when we get into situations where there's multiple enemies, or do they go for the arena hex first or go for me, those types of decisions are already taken care of with the AI built into this particular sheet. Very important, and yet I didn't talk about it in the rules overview, so I do apologize for that because it's actually really important. But we'll talk about it as we play through it, and maybe it'll actually make more sense that way. So we're going to go ahead and start it off. We're starting with a deploy phase on my side because I get to go first. Woohoo! So now we're going to go ahead and pick whichever one we want to bring in. Now I get to bring in a gladiator and or a tactic. So I can choose to bring in two. I can bring in a gladiator and a tactic, or just a gladiator, or just a tactic. But just a tactic right now makes absolutely zero sense. And it's not even possible. So I'm going to go ahead and actually bring in, I think, the Centurion, I think. He is going to be the guy to go in first. So we're going to put this lovely individual into play, just so you guys can see his stats. And there you go, nice and focused. So 4 health on this individual. We are the red team, Team Red. And of course, I'm also going to put a tactic on him. Now, what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to actually have him use adrenaline, I think. I'm going to put adrenaline on this guy so that he can move quicker. Ooh, should I do that? I don't know. Yes, adrenaline. I'm going to place him right here. So he's going to have the ability to increase his movement. So that's really good. We're going to have to try to remember that, but he can go an extra movement points. So that's something to remember. Okay, so we've gone ahead and we drafted this guy. The next step we do is move. Well, anyone that's drafted on the same round, you cannot move. So I can't, on this same turn, for instance. So I cannot move this guy, and I can't attack with him either. So my turn is, in essence, done. Pretty not exactly exciting, but we're going to keep going. So now we're going to go ahead and activate these guys. We're first going to roll for our champion to see what the champion does, and then afterwards we're going to activate all other units, which would be Korykos. So here we go. This is a roll of the 4 wonderful dice that correspond to our solo AI here. And again, we're talking about the Xanadu section in terms of what will happen there. So 4 dice, we're hoping, well, I don't know what we're hoping for yet. We'll find, oh my gosh. So basically, that's insane. We got, like, I don't know what the odds are of that, but it doesn't look nice. Now we have to move through these 4 in a row. So we're going to go ahead with green first, and then we're going to go, is that a black next? Yeah, black next, and then blue, and then yellow, and we'll move through them one by one. Okay, so we're going to go green first. Green is straight up a move. Okay, so in terms of moving, which spot would this guy go to? That's the question. Sorry, that's not a spot. Which of these 3 spots would this individual go to, because he only has 1 move right there, denoted by the green circle. So you go ahead and you take a quick look at your Xanadu units, as well as, oh, there he is, Ariq Boke, and he says move toward the arena hex. Okay. And then it also says move towards the closest opposing unit and the weakest opposing. So he's going to move in a way that makes the most sense. So I'd say he's going to probably move this way, would make sense. He's moving closer to me, but also aiming to get to the arena hex. That makes the most sense to me. Okay, and then of course we resolve the black die. The black die says heave the strongest opposing adjacent unit on an arena hex directly overhead. There is nobody on an arena hex that's directly overhead, or sorry, that's next to him, so that's not going to happen. Perfect. Blue, area knockback. All adjacent opposing units are pushed 1 hex away from this unit, if possible. And then units not pushed away take 2 damage. So if you can't get pushed, you take 2 damage. So in this particular instance, because they're not actually next to each other, the 2 damage doesn't incur, because it's only all adjacent opposing units that are actually affected by that particular knockback. But then he also got yellow dice, which is a basic attack. Wonderfully, his basic attack has to follow his attack range, and he's got only a range of 1. So he's only going to be targeting things around him, and that's not going to be me. So we're good. That was a great time to roll those, because really moving is the only thing he could have done in that situation. So now we're going to do, the champion is done, we're going to move over to Korykos, who's going to go ahead. Now she is going to activate with move and with attack. Now she can move 3, so you can see here on her chip, it's actually got 3 for her movement. So this is where things get interesting, because you do have to reference that sheet, because how do you know where she goes? Does she go and sit on the arena hex, or does she come to me and try to hit me? So that's why that breakdown on the that's right here in front of us now is so important. You can see for Xanadu units attack there, ATK, says closest opposing unit for, oh sorry, we're doing move first. Move towards what we're talking about. So arena hex is number 1, and then closest opposing unit. So she's actually going to try to get onto the arena hex before she goes after me. So she's just going to be happy to sit right here. Now she'd attack me, because it's now her attack phase. She would do that if she was within range, but her range is 1, as denoted by the yellow circle on her chip, so she's not close enough to actually do it. The crazy thing about her is that she actually just gives you a hit. She doesn't even have to roll, so she's kind of nasty that way. But that's essentially it. So her turn is now done, and with her turn being done, we now move on to a brand new round, essentially. So we're right back to my turn. So now this individual, we won't move him yet, because the very first thing we do in our new round is deploy. So we wanted to figure out who and what we want to bring out. Remember, 1 gladiator and/or tactics. So I'm going to bring the hoplite out, I think, and the hoplite's going to actually, what do I do here? I'm going to use the hoplite and propel, I think. Hoplite and propel. Yeah, I like that. Hoplite and propel together. It's going to be an interesting combination. So I'm going to go ahead and grab 3 red chips. And we're going to get this guy into play. I'm going to put him right here. And there's a reason for me putting him to play right here. Now, propel is a really cool tactic. And the cool thing about propel, what it allows you to do is it says launch an adjacent friendly unit 2 hexes away from this unit. Launched unit cannot move or attack this turn, usable during the move phase. Okay, so I can, even though I'm not allowed to move and attack. So I've just brought this individual in for my deployment phase. So now I'm moving to the move phase. In the move phase, I can choose which of my individual chips I want to move first as part of the strategy, which is kind of cool. But the thing is, I couldn't use a lot of movement, because right now I have 2 movement with this guy. So technically I could just use 2 movement and just get onto one of these spots. Or I could do something like this, go 1, and I have my shove ability and chuck. Actually, that's exactly what I'm going to do. So forget the fact of doing a propel and chucking this guy over here. I'm actually going to use, for my move, again, can't move this guy because I just deployed him, so I got to leave him still. The only reason I was even mentioning the hoplite was because I have the tactic propel, which I believe I still can use on my first turn anyway during the move phase. But instead I'm going to use Centurion, actually, because Centurion sat around the entire round last round and is ready to go now. So we're going to use his 2 movement, because remember, 1 for the green circle right there, and then of course I have Adrenaline, which increases his unit move range by 1. So we're going to move 1, and then on the second move, we're going to be using his shove ability, which we talked about earlier. And his shove ability says move this unit 1 hex into the opposing unit. That unit also moves back 1 hex. If the opposing unit cannot move directly back 1 hex, the shove cannot be used. Cool. And it also says usable in the move phase, which it is right now. So I'm shoving Korykos off the pillar. So I've given her a good toss and shoved her back, which is perfect. So that's awesome. That's a really cool benefit. Okay, so now I'm the one sitting on the pillow, and this is great news. So there's my move. I can't do anything with the hoplite. I've done my move with the Centurion, so now the move phase is over. And now we're going to move over to the attack. Okay, so now in terms of attacking, again, my hoplite cannot attack this turn, so it's got to sit still, but my Centurion can attack, and I'm obviously going to target the individual next to me. So I'm going to go ahead and target Korykos. She has True Strike, but that doesn't help her for defense against me. I get to roll 1 green die, so I'm going to do it and hope I land a hit, and I do. So we got 1 hit. She only has 2 health, so we're already halfway to knocking her off the arena. So that's awesome. And then that's it. That's it for the attack phase. Now we move back to the enemy side of things. So this is where things get interesting. So we're going to go ahead and deploy for them. They have nothing to deploy, as we've talked about before. We're going to go ahead and roll our 4 dice for the champion. This will be really interesting because the champion is kind of close to us, which is a little sketchy. Okay, we didn't get green, which is, I think, good because I think green is movement, if I remember correctly. So no green there, but we got a black, which is heave. Oh, that's perfect because he's nowhere around to do a heave, and heave has to be opposing adjacent unit. Because he didn't get the green die, he's not close enough to heave me off this arena hex, so that's perfect. So we'll move away the green die. The black die is for heave, which you can't do. The blue die is for the area knockback for anyone adjacent. No one's adjacent, so that's useless. And then the basic attack is also useless because I'm outside of range, so another perfect roll. So that's awesome. Now we're going to go ahead and activate all other units. So this unit here is not going to move on its turn because she's already on arena hex and she's already adjacent to someone, so all of her AI has been satisfied. But she is going to attack because she doesn't like my particular individual. Now the really cool thing about this is her attack is a 1-hit and no roll. Okay, now she has the ability that says True Strike, and it says True Strike says basic attacks by this unit can be used as alt attacks. So in other words, her 1-hit is going to go against me as a basic attack, but then I have a parry innate ability. My parry innate ability says the unit ignores the first successful basic attack against him each turn. So then my Centurion would parry off Korykos' attack at basic, but then her True Strike ability, which allows her to use that 1-hit again as an alternate attack, I can't stop. And so because of that, I take the alternate hit damage that comes from her True Strike ability, which then takes a chip off me. Ouch. Okay, well, that wasn't fun. So that's the end of the second round, I guess that is. Now, I don't know if I'm going to try to remember all the rounds as we go through them because I'll probably forget, but we're done. So now what's going to happen, things get interesting now because if you'll notice, it's coming back to a brand new round, and guess what, guys? I'm the only one standing on an arena hex, meaning that I'm going to go ahead and end up getting a point at the start of my turn, which is awesome. So just so I nail this down 100%, it says specifically any unit occupying an arena hex at the start of its turn gains +1 arena point. More units means more points. So we get a unit point because we're at the start of our turn and it is my turn. So I'm going to go ahead before we do the deployment and grab a point. Now how I'm counting this is the units that are the enemies are blue chipped. So I'm using blue gems. The game comes with 6-sided dice, but I want to use gems because gems look cooler. And they might be a little bit more thematic, I guess. Maybe, I don't know. So I'm going to take this red one and just place it right here to say that I've got 1 point. So I'm already in the lead. Now it's time to actually deploy again. So I've got 2 guys that are sitting on the sidelines that want in. Now I have no more tactics to bring in, so really I can only choose one of these guys to bring in. I'm thinking that it's possible that I want someone with quick movement so I can get some really cheap points really fast. So I'm thinking probably this guy right here. So I'm going to bring this guy in, our wonderful individual that I cannot pronounce his name. But he has 3 health, so we're going to grab him, and he's going to come into the game. And I'm going to put him, up here. I'm going to put him up here because he's got a lot of movement, so I can get him to do some crazy running around. He's got 2 abilities, Swap and Distract. Swap says the unit may switch places with another adjacent unit, usable during the move phase, so that's handy. Again, remember, he just got deployed, so he can't move or attack this turn. But he has a Distract innate ability, and his Distract innate ability says all dice used by adjacent opposing units for basic attacks and skills are changed to yellow. So if I can get him close to both of these, especially to our champion, I can actually make that champion be rolling yellow dice. So that's pretty strategic. So anyway, for now, I'll leave him over there so he's kind of in quick shot to get over there to do that. That'll be really handy. So this is a pretty good formation. I like the strategy here. So now we've deployed, so we're done our deployment, and now we'll move to the movement phase. Now in movement, I cannot move this individual, but I can now move the hoplite, and of course I can still move the Centurion if I so choose. But I don't want to move the Centurion because if I do, then I risk potentially being... I guess if I... Yeah, I really don't want to do that. I kind of just want to get all my guys on there. So the Hoplite has 2 movement, so it would make sense. Now let me just take a look. His reposition skill says, instead of attacking, this unit may move 1 hex. Okay, well that's fine, but I already have 2 movement, which would get me onto an arena hex anyway, so that reposition is not really useful right now. And skewer, oh, skewer. I could do that. I could just try to like throw something straight through them. But remember, skewer is only going to throw 1 red black die, which is like 1 hit across both. It would end up killing Korykos though, which actually wouldn't be a bad idea per se. That might be an interesting way to do it, actually. I kind of like that. Yeah, let's do it. Let's get a kill. I think a kill will be fun. So let's do a movement of 2. So I'm going to go 1, 2. So there's my movement. And then, of course, for the Centurion, I'm choosing not to move the Centurion. I'm going to leave him where he is. I can't move this guy, so now we're going to move to the attack phase. In the attack phase, I cannot attack with him. I can attack with the Centurion. Oh, I guess I probably didn't need to bring the Hoplite here. So you know what? I'm going to reverse that. Sorry, guys, because that makes no sense. I have the ability to roll a green die and potentially kill her. So having 2 units try to kill her is a little bit overkill. I'm just going to use the 2 move in the prior set to go here instead to try and get more points. So I'm going to move him there. And now our attacks are going to happen. So really it's just going to be the Centurion attacking with the green dice. And remember, if I get 1 hit here, she's out. She's gone. We knocked her out. She is out of the match. That is our first kill. We can just go ahead and put her off to the side as a treasure to say we've killed her. Her body's laying there. So that's awesome. We've got 1 less person to deal with. Okay, so now we've done our attacks and done our moves. We're all good to go. So our moves and then attacks. And now we can go to the arena phase. So we're going to the deployment for the enemies. There is no one to deploy. We're rolling our champion dice. Let's do that. See what happens. Oh, we got some movement now finally. So this is where things get interesting. He's going to move to the arena hex 100%. Because that makes the most sense. I'm just going to double check his AI to make sure that's what he does. Yep, he moves towards the arena hex. So now he's adjacent to all of us. So the green die is spent. We then move on to the black dice, which is heave. Oh, now this is where it's going to get kind of cool. He's going to use the black dice to heave the strongest opposing unit on the arena hex directly overhead if possible. And it's actually 100% possible. So now when it says strongest unit, the interesting thing here is that technically the strongest unit is both. They're both actually at 3 each. So because one of them took a hit. Now this one's normally at 4, so they're actually equal. So in those situations where they're completely equal, my assumption is that I would probably choose the one that has the higher heart rating, because I'd assume that would be the strongest unit. Again, it probably is more likely that I can choose, but I'm going to play it, at least for now, until someone lets me know, or I at least find this in the rulebook, that I'm going to take it as the highest heart unit, regardless of how much hearts he has. So, yes, normally this guy for sure would get thrown overhead because he's 4 and the other one's 3, but they're both equal health right now. So I'm just going to have the Centurion get chucked overhead. So he's thrown to the opposite side, and overhead means directly overhead. But at the same time, if I'm thinking of AI movement and, you know, what the, oh man, this is tough. Because, I mean, it's a benefit for me to be thrown over here because then I'm right next to this, whereas I think the enemy would want to chuck this individual overhead over here because now he's no longer adjacent to anything. So I'm going to probably do that instead because I think that makes more logical sense. You guys can let me know in the comments below in terms of what happens when the strongest units are equal health. How do you determine who's the one that gets chucked in that situation? So that'll be a great thing to give feedback on, and then I can correct that. So for now, what I'm going to do is just continue resolving his dice at least. So he went ahead and did his chuck. The next thing that's going to happen, which is terrible, is sorry, the arena knockback doesn't happen, thank goodness. Now what's going to happen is the basic attack. And again, that's coming from the yellow die right here. So his basic attack, as you can see, is just range 1. So he can hit either of our 2 guys. But then again, we're going to always reference our sheet to find out who he attacks. And he's going to attack the closest opposing unit and the weakest opposing unit. So the exact same situation I was talking about before. Weakest being we have 2 3 health hit point characters, so which one's he going to hit? I don't know. I would assume he's going to hit probably this guy, but maybe I get to choose again. I'm not sure. So again, you're going to have to help me out with this. I'm going to do the roll regardless, and when you guys give me feedback, I'll correct who gets the damage and who gets thrown overhead for the next video, okay? So we're going to go ahead and roll our dice for this particular guy. Now he's rolling a black for his basic, which sucks. If I had this guy beside him somehow, then he would be reducing Ariq Boke's die down to a yellow, which would have been super handy. But anyway, we're rolling a black die, see what happens. And we get hit. Okay, so I am going to put the damage against this individual here. But we're going to double check to see, and I'm going to wait for your guys' feedback on whether it should have been him thrown overhead and taking the damage, or him thrown overhead and taking the damage. It's either the Hoplite or it's a Centurion. I'm not sure which one, but this is a perfect time to stop, because at this point now we're at the very end of a turn. We're moving right back to me. So at the beginning of the next video, we'll be at the deployment phase for my turn. And the really cool thing is that I actually will be gaining a point regardless, because I am sitting on an arena tile with still one of them anyway. Now our biggest challenge is going to be to get this guy off the mat. So, you know, if I played this correctly in terms of who gets thrown overhead by the champion and who gets hit, I could potentially use my shove ability on the Centurion to shove Ariq Boke off this particular thing before his turn comes and he gets a point. Anyway, it's super fun. I really like the strategy in this so far. This is a blast. So I hope you guys are enjoying the playthrough. Hopefully this is helping you understand the game a little bit better. And we're going to continue to play this all the way through and see how far we can get in these trials. So give me a thumbs up if you like what you see. If you are really enjoying it, share it around. Let other people know that we're playing it so that we can get others joining in on the playthrough. Again, I really appreciate all the comments and feedback. So if you saw anything that I messed up or made a mistake on, let me know. And if you have any questions, feel free as well. Also, 100% give me feedback on that overhead and the damage. Who should be taking that? Is it the Hoplite or the Centurion? Let me know in the comments below. We'll fix that for the next one, and we'll be raring to go. So until next time, guys, keep on rolling solo.